Hi, welcome back. This is the second edition of Disney Recipes. Today we are making Tonga toast, which is French toast with bananas inside of it. These are the recipes I used. Overall, only spent $15 at the store, had sugar at home, so that is the only thing I did not buy. I start out by mixing together the sugar cinnamon mix that you put on at the very end. I followed all of the exact measurements and I ended up with a lot of this at the end. I will say that this video is a little longer because I did go step by step, so if you need to zoom forward, please feel free to. Also, just to let you know, some of my measurements were taking longer because some of my spices were not wanting to come out like you see here, so please just bear with me. But overall, this was a super easy thing to do. It turned out beautifully and it took less than an hour. So it was definitely worth it. I would recommend when you are doing all this, let your kids do stuff like this, measure it out, mix it up, and then leave the stovetop cooking to the adult. I got popped by the grease a few times and it was not fun. So please just be careful with that. The second thing I'm doing right here is mixing up the batter in which you are going to dip your bread. So you start out with some eggs and you're adding milk, cinnamon, and sugar. It is super easy to make. Make sure you're whipping up the eggs before you add anything else. Here you see I'm going to add all the rest of the ingredients once I find the correct measuring cups. I am also usually not the kind of person that measures like this, but I want to make sure y'all see exactly what the recipe is going to make. I also had a good quantity of this left over. I just poured it in the sink. I would recommend though, if you're doing the cinnamon sugar mix, you only need about half of what it says. So if you want to cut that in half and just save some sugar or cinnamon in your cabinet, feel free to do that. I'm also the kind of person that reuses my measuring cup, so sorry it's so dirty. So here you see me mixing up the batter and then I'm gonna set it aside. The next thing I'm going to show you how to do is slice up your bananas and put them into the toast. So here you can see I had some issues with my bananas. They kept falling apart because I apparently don't know how to open a banana. But this would be a really easy thing for your kid to do, and if you trust them with a knife, you can do it, but always supervise. So what you do is you cut your bananas in half and then you cut the half into a half, if that makes sense. So you're basically going to take a half banana to each piece of bread, which I will show you how to do in a second. I will say you want to make sure you put in your oil so it can heat up while you are pre-making your bread slices. So here you can see I filled it up a little under 4 cups. You definitely do not need this. I would say 3 cups would be sufficient if you want to cut down on the oil you're using. I used canola oil because that's what it's called for, but I genuinely think you could use anything you want. So here you can see that I'm starting to make our Tonga toast. You can see that I'm pushing in the middle slices where the banana is. This helps it so there's not a big lump in the middle of your sandwich. And as you also can probably tell, I had pre-sliced bread because I could not find any bread that was not sliced. So what I did was I molded all of my bread pieces, and when I realized that they wanted you to only cut open half your bread and slide in the bananas, I was like, well, since we are all on a budget, let's just put another piece of bread on top of it and shut it that way. So that is what I did. It worked perfectly. None of my bread came apart. I just made sure, you can see I smushed it down really good over the bananas, but also on the corner pieces. I think that would be one thing that I changed because those started coming up a little bit. So just make sure you're pushing it down everywhere. And then as you can see, I'm gonna push everything over so I can show you how I dipped all this in the batter and got it ready to put in the oil. And again, I would say this is probably one of the things that you can let the kid do. You're not getting anywhere near the stove. You can say hand it off to mom or dad, and I'll put it in there for you. But it's super easy. Just drench it and then just very gently place it into the pan. So what I did was I showed you kind of a live action of my first piece dropping into the pan. It was still getting warm, so I probably could have waited a few more minutes. I am just very impatient. But once it got in there, I turned it over a few times until it was light golden brown. I like my toast crispier when I'm eating French toast. But feel free to just make it however you like. If you are into it being a little more mushy or a little more crispy, like make sure you're leaving it in there for the allotted amount of time. So eventually you can see I'm starting to move it around. It's starting to get hot and bubbling. That is when I would say, kids, like, let's step away. Like, can you go help set the table? You know, I also wanted to let you know that I was putting it on about medium-high heat. It got everything going really quick. So this is just me showing you that I did all of my other ones and how I put all of the cinnamon sugar mix on top of them after they were all done. Overall, this was so easy, and I'm obviously at home, so I'm using everything that I have at home. And the cleanup, I mean, it was a good bit, but I just stuck it in the dishwasher, did not even take up that much space. This is so worth doing. I hope y'all enjoyed, and I hope that you will post and tag us in your creation. Y'all have a great day.